All right, we are ready to start, I think. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And my name is Norma Frahn, and I'm a coach here at Life Coach University. And today's Pay It Forward talk is going to be a component of my Weight Loss Your Way philosophy or program. But before we dive into that, wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. If this is your first time with us here at Life Coach University and your first Pay It Forward talk, welcome. And this is how we do it. So I'm going to spend some time just talking about my topic today, and then at the end, there's going to be an opportunity for you to have your questions answered. So as I'm talking, if you would like to pull up the Q&A box. It's really easy to find. Just hover your mouse around the bottom of your screen and you'll see a little button that says Q&A. Just click that open, type your message. I'll be the only one that sees it. And then at the end, I'll go through those questions and answer anything that you have. If you happen to be watching this later on replay, there's also a couple of different ways you can reach out to me for questions. I do have at the bottom of the screen next to my name, my email address, support@normafrahncoaching.com. You can always email me directly, but an even quicker way probably is to go right to the Life Coach University website and then just scroll down and find my picture and my Pay It Forward talk information, and there'll be a button that says to contact Norma. So you'll be able to reach out to me that way as well. My goal here is to make sure that all questions get answered on my Pay It Forward talks, even if they're not live. So please feel free to take advantage of that. And then the last thing I just remind you of before I dive in is that this is a Pay It Forward talk. And that means that the only cost for you to participate is your promise to pay it forward with some act of kindness. And it could be anything that you want to put out into the world. It could be sharing Life Coach University with someone who you think could really find the information here valuable. It could be sharing something you learned today in this session, anything at all. Just be sure that it's coming from the heart and it's your act of kindness to put out into the world. All right, so a little bit about me. Again, my name is Norma Frahn. I am a life and nutrition coach, and I work primarily with my program called Weight Loss Your Way. I have a podcast named the same, Weight Loss Your Way, and a membership community where we work on the fundamentals of Weight Loss Your Way. And one of them is normalizing food. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So, first question, have you ever thought this? I just want to be a normal eater. I know I sure did. I thought about it all the time. In fact, it was the thing that I wanted most, was to be normal around food. And it was something that just consumed so much of my thinking and how I moved through my day. So let's talk a little bit about that. So like I said, everything about my food and my eating behaviors just felt wrong to me, like abnormal. I was anything but normal. And I really believed that. I thought I had to be the only crazy person in the world that thought about food all the time. I mean, I planned for it. I wrote it down. I tracked it in an app. I questioned it. I counted it, weighed and measured it. I worried about it. I feared it. I was completely embarrassed by it. And I was totally exhausted from all the energy I was putting into food. It seemed like every waking thought somehow revolved around food and eating. And I remember just thinking, this can't be normal. And why can't I be just like everybody else? I would watch other people and wonder, how in the world do they just seem to know what to do around food? It doesn't seem to be a problem for them. And then there's that woman in my office that occasionally announced, oh, I forgot to eat lunch. I'm sorry, what? How does anyone forget to eat lunch? That's what I was thinking. So, any of this sound familiar? Are you doing any of this, or is it consuming you in this way? So, we all have this idea of what we think normal is when it comes to our own food and eating. And our version of normal, what we imagine in our head, is usually far, far away from what we're actually experiencing. And that creates that feeling of just being abnormal, something wrong with us. So when you do think about your version of normal, what you think you should be doing, how does it feel? Does it feel aspirational? Does it feel doable or impossible and completely unrealistic and maybe even a little wishful? So, no matter how it feels right now, my goal by the end of this talk, I want you to feel a little relief, maybe a little clarity, and maybe even come away with a different perspective of what a normal eater could be and what could be possible for you when you form your own opinion or your own perspective of what normal eating is. And that's what we're going to talk about doing today. So before we jump into the how-to, I want to just share this. I don't think there's any one right definition that applies to everyone. There just can't be. We've all had very different experiences. We're different human beings. We have different lives, different cultures. Everything's different. So everyone's definition of normal will be different. And what I hope to convince you of is that the only definition is what matters to you. What is normal for you? So, like I said before, the most important thing I want you to hear before we jump into this is that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not crazy if you're feeling anything like I was. But normal is something that we create in our mind, and it can be unique to all of us. And you're not wrong if you're feeling abnormal right now. We're going to work on that today. So I think what's happened is that diet culture has conditioned us to believe that there is a right way, and the only way to achieve it is by eating a particular way, somebody's diet. That we need someone to tell us how to eat and what to eat and when, because we couldn't possibly figure that out on our own. And if you can't achieve that right look, you're just doing it wrong. I even had a doctor once tell me that I was doing it wrong. And then I asked, well, what's the right way? Couldn't get a straight answer because there isn't a right way. There's only your way. So anyway, in my opinion, all of that is just BS. It's social conditioning that's got us to this desperate place where we're doubting ourselves with every single bite we take. And my mission is to show you that weight loss your way is possible and that you are smart enough and you already have everything you need to achieve it. So to get started with untangling this, the first step is, to the degree that you're able, reject everything that you've ever been told or learned or think you know about dieting. And if you're not quite ready to completely reject it, just push it aside and clear as much space as you can in your mind to consider what else might be possible. All right, so take a breath, think about that. Even if, like I said, you can't reject all of it, I know that's a big ask. Just imagine a shelf in your brain and you're just going to pick all that diet stuff up, put it on the shelf, and it'll be there if you want to go back to it. But right now, today, we're going to leave it there and have open space. All right, so to get started, I want to take you through a very short 30-second visualization exercise. So if you're sitting in front of your computer, just get comfortable in your seat, put your feet flat on the floor, take a deep breath, and if it feels comfortable, close your eyes and just concentrate. Try to imagine moving through your day without thinking about food so much. It's not the first thing you think of when you wake up in the morning. And then imagine as you're going through your day, you notice that you're hungry. So you eat something, and you eat something that you enjoy. And then when you're not hungry anymore, you stop eating. There's no drama, there's no doubt, there's no guilt, no shame. There's no indecision about what to eat because you're not thinking in terms of good or bad food. You eat what you want. You're not on a diet, so you're not restricting the things that you love. All available to you. You don't have to eat in secret or hide from anyone. You can do it all out in the open. You simply and purely trust yourself and your body around food. All right, how did that feel? Did you get a little bit of a picture? Does it feel like so far away? It might feel like that far reach right now, but all I'm asking you to do here today is consider the possibility. So keep trying to do that very same visualization I just took you through in those 30 seconds. Do it a few times a day and try to imagine what it would be like to be living in the normal that you believe would be right for you. Visualize what it feels and what you're doing and how you're moving through your day when it comes to food. It's a really great exercise to help you get much more in tune with what you're thinking and what you're feeling and how you want to approach this from your perspective. Do it every day. Do it multiple times a day if you can. Because here's the thing, our brain is not as smart as you think it is. It doesn't know the difference between a scenario you made up and one that really happened. So you can actually trick your brain into doing exactly what you want it to do. So the more you picture this, the more you live it out in your mind and your visualization, the more your brain's going to believe that it's really happening. And you're going to find yourself just starting to behave that way as you move about your day, simply because you've reprogrammed your brain a bit. So keep doing that and do it once you get that kind of a clear picture, drill down a little bit further and really start defining what normal means to you, one that makes sense for you. And make your visualization really specific. What are you eating for breakfast? How do you feel at 3 in the afternoon when that slump rolls around? And how are you going to get through dinner when you know you've had enough, but it just tastes so good? What are you going to do then? And how does it feel to go to sleep at night proud of how you showed up for yourself? Those are all great ways to drill down, get very specific, create that picture, and start reprogramming your brain. All right. So I want to share another tip that I think it's probably, excuse me, the best one I know to start shifting how you think about food. And that tip is no more all or nothing thinking. There is no right or wrong. There's no black or white. And to make this shift, you're now just going to operate in the gray. It's in the gray space where there isn't a right or wrong or a black or white that you figure out what your way is. So here's what I mean. Instead of telling yourself, I'm only going to eat healthy foods from now on, try telling yourself, I will eat healthier food most of the time. And sometimes I will eat things just because I enjoy them. Do you see the difference? Stripping out that all or nothing thinking gives you space and it gives you permission to experiment and practice and try different things. The hardest part about figuring out what your normal is setting aside all those old beliefs and those perceptions and allowing the space for new ones. And the only way to do that is if you can put aside the black and white, right or wrong thinking. All right. So remember when I said in the beginning, wishing I was a normal eater was one of my biggest obstacles. I didn't want to think about food all the time. So over the course of my journey, and I continue to, excuse me, refine it today, I've defined what normal means for me. So sorry, I got a tickle. All right. So to get you thinking, I'm going to share my list of what it means to be a normal eater as it looks today. And remember, like I just said, I keep defining it and redefining it. And this is my list. You can always take what you want, but also leave behind what you don't want. So I'm not suggesting that my definition of normal is the definition, it's just mine. I'm more than willing to share it, but you can also reject any of it that doesn't make sense. So here's what we have. So to me, normal is giving some intentional thought to my food choices so that I can eat nutritious foods most of the time but not be so restrictive that I miss out on really enjoyable foods. Being a normal eater is also, for me, means that I eat when I'm hungry and I feed myself until I'm satisfied. And it will look different every day. It also means choosing foods that I enjoy eating, eating until I've had enough, and not stopping just because I think I should. I listen to my body to stop now. It also means not eating the entire bag of cookies or chips or whatever it is, because I'm going to allow myself to have them again tomorrow if I want them. And for me, normal is sometimes eating too much and feeling uncomfortable, or eating not enough and feeling a little disappointed that I didn't eat more. Normal eating to me, and this is the big one, is never beating myself up over my food choices. Instead, I try to learn from them by paying attention to how my body feels physically and mentally based on those choices. For me, normal is also trusting my body that it will regulate on its own without over exercising to outpace eating. It also means eating what I want instead of eating what I think I should eat or what the diet is telling me I should eat. Normal eating for me also means enjoying the flexibility to eat when I'm hungry instead of eating by the clock. And it means having a healthy body and mind that I can 100% rely on to feed it. My body and mind can rely on me to feed it when it's hungry, and that I'll feed it enough and I'll feed it food that I enjoy. It also means that I pay attention and I recognize the difference between eating for pure enjoyment or eating as a way to avoid or change a particular emotion or circumstance, and then deciding if I'm going to eat. It also means that I no longer use food as a reward or I restrict food as a punishment. And as a normal eater, foods that I once considered forbidden have just become ordinary food because I can eat them in moderation. It also means I'm not afraid of portion size or feel compelled to weigh and measure and count every single bite because I can rely on my body to tell me when to stop. So that's a big list. And that's kind of, like I said, how I define normal eating for me now. And I hope it got your wheels turning a little bit to think about how you might be able to take one of mine and make it your own, make it something that's part of your normal eating definition. Now, if you've heard me talk about weight loss your way before, you know what I'm going to say next. Getting started means getting aware. And developing awareness in two places, especially in this process of normalizing food and becoming a normal eater. And those places are knowing where you are today and then knowing where you want to be. Paying attention to your eating behaviors today and how you think about food right now will help you get aware and figure out where your starting point is, what you need to start working on. And when you know where you are, and then also know where you want to go, like we did kind of with that visualization exercise, that was the whole purpose, you get much clearer about the gap in the middle. And remember, the gap in the middle is where the gray space is. That's where you get to practice and experiment and mess up and try again. And you get to settle on your normal. It's all happening in that gray space. Now, it will take time. It will take patience because weight loss your way, it's the long game. It's not a quick fix. It's the long game because it changes your life. It changes your life while you're experiencing it and all the way down the scale. It doesn't happen just because the number on the scale changed. It's the work you're doing in the gray space that makes it so, so meaningful. All right, that is what I have for you today. Let's see what we have for questions. All right. Okay, here's a good one. What if I eat what I want, I'm afraid I won't be able to stop. I hear this all the time. It's very normal, completely common. There is nothing to fear about this. And it's also probably the one thing that takes a little bit of time to work through. It's that fear because we're so very conditioned to follow the rules, follow a diet, follow things that we've been taught and we learned all through all our lives. This is the gray space. This is where the gray space work comes in. Learning to trust yourself does not flip on like a switch. Rarely ever have I met a complete stranger, though, and think to myself, I totally trust this person. It works the same way with ourselves. It takes time and patience to get to know them. And it takes time and patience to get to know yourself and to trust yourself and to learn what hunger and satisfaction actually feel like for you. And then there's the whole learning process of honoring those feelings by eating until your hunger is satisfied. It's a process. But yes, it's a very common fear to be afraid that you won't be able to stop or that you'll gain weight. And the truth of the matter is, you might in the beginning gain a little weight. It's all part of the process. But if we trust the process, start building trust with ourselves, it will normalize, it will regulate, you will find your normal. And then you'll be able to concentrate on other parts of the process that's going to further the weight loss efforts. So last tip I would offer in this question is, remember, nothing's off limits or there's no bad food. And if you can really get to a place where you believe that, then there's no reason to overeat, right? You can always have that food again and again if you want. Just like I mentioned in one of my ways that I've defined normal for me is no longer restricting myself from things that I once thought were forbidden, based on somebody else's rules, by the way, somebody else's diet. And when I did that, when I truly understood that, it never felt urgent, or it doesn't feel urgent anymore to have that piece of cake or that cookie or whatever it is, because I know I can have it whenever I want it. So suddenly it's just not as attractive as it used to be. It's fascinating how your brain works like that. Okay, next question. What if I work shifts or have a dedicated lunch hour? Yeah, this is a good question. And this also comes up a lot because I know it sounds all wonderful to say eat when you're hungry and stop when you're satisfied, but sometimes you're going to get hungry at times that it's not convenient, like when you're at work and your lunch hour isn't, for another half an hour, 45 minutes. That's real life. And that's going to be a great place to experiment and practice working in the gray, being willing to eat different foods in different amounts, maybe eat a little more for breakfast to see if it holds you longer and just see how that feels in your body. You might even be able to kind of hone in on different foods that make you feel lethargic, where instead you'd rather have a little more energy to kind of carry you through that lunch hour. Or or maybe try to find foods that stay with you longer until you're able to eat again, like including more protein or more healthier fat in your shift meal or in the meal before, that will carry you sometimes several hours before you need to eat again. You can also pack a snack and again do the same thing, see how those different foods work in your body. And maybe another good example of operating in the gray is to know that there's no right or wrong about doing this. You get to decide what's normal for you until you hit on that combination of timing and food and quantity. And when you do hit on it, everything just kind of goes into like autopilot. Your body feels really good. And you'll just know when you get there. Everybody has different signals, but you will know when you found that magic combination that kind of helps you get through things like shift work and just navigating your life. Let's see what we've got. I think we can do one more. Let's do this. Okay. All right. So we have a participant saying, some mornings I don't feel like eating breakfast. So my first meal isn't till 11 or 12. Is that messing up my metabolism? Oh, the metabolism question. All right, so here's what I want you to know about metabolism. What actually messes up your metabolism is feeding your body when it doesn't need it, or basically overfeeding it, or just the opposite, severe restriction and keeping things so wrapped up in the diet rules that you're not feeding your body enough. So it's overeating and basically starving yourself that messes up your metabolism. So going on and off those restrictive diets, that's causing more damage to your metabolism than overeating at dinner could ever cause. Your body, when you're someone, especially like me, if you were someone who did these diets on one diet after another, your body really never had a chance to regulate itself when the food was coming in kind of sporadically or in different quantities or different times. So this is a great opportunity to challenge that belief that, for instance, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's a fun fact about breakfast. Did you know that that phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, was an advertising slogan the first time we heard that? It was an advertising slogan in the late 1800s put out by the Kellogg family as they were trying to sell their brand new breakfast cereal, cornflakes. Now, yes, there is some science I'm sure you could point to that says how important breakfast is, but breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's where it came from. So challenge your beliefs a bit. It's perfectly fine if you don't feel like eating anything until 11 or 12. That's honoring your hunger cues and honoring your body. And if you're overfeeding it, just eating because you think you need to, it's getting more food than it needs. It has to work harder to process it. And that's the thing that kind of messes with your metabolism, especially, like I said, if you're bouncing back from overeating to restrictive dieting. So try not to get too hung up on metabolism. Trust that your body will regulate when you are feeding it when you're hungry and you're stopping when you're satisfied. Okay, that's what I have for you today. If you do want to dive deeper into normalizing food and changing your relationship with the food, I'd invite you to go check out my Weight Loss Your Way community membership. The doors are always open, and in March, we're going to be taking a deep dive into food and figuring out what being a normal eater means to you. So all of our community members will be going through the same process. And if you'd like to join us, so simple to do. You can go to normafrahncoaching.com/services/community for more information, or you can email me directly or through the Life Coach University website. I would love to talk to you about it and would love to see you there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. All right. Last thing, don't forget to pay it forward today with some act of kindness. And if you haven't checked out Let's Coach 2023 over at Life Coach University, go do that now. Go to that page and see the schedule that we've set up. We have every day of the week, we have a coach available for 30 minutes to provide you with whatever coaching you need. And it's only $20 for the entire year. You can come every single day for one payment of $20 and get coached by amazing coaches. So head over to Life Coach University, click on Let's Coach 2023. And like I said, you'll see the schedule and all of the coaches that are there. I'll be up on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and I look forward to seeing you there. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.